Most people know me as Miss Lori. They've seen me on PBS and WTTW. I see some of you go, oh yeah, I remember her. I'm really honored to be here today, and you have Miss Amy Milner to thank for that. She and I attended the same high school 6 million years ago, at least. But you know what, I'm okay with that. I'm 43 and I'm quite proud and happy to be on the other side of 40. And she's younger. She wants you to know. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm going to give you a little bit of my resume. I was adopted, and I was raised in Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin. And my parents were both social workers, and they also were into the arts. My mother played classical piano and flute and guitar, and she instilled that in me. And so I went on, and at the age of 9, I got into the theater and never looked back. I started doing about 3 to 4 shows a year from age 9 on, until I started having my children in my late 20s. I went on to do shows with the Children's Theater in Madison. There were many television productions that were done about me to talk about my life. I went on to Shorewood High School, where Amy was, and I continued in my theater career. In fact, I was brought to Shorewood because of my theater acumen. It was a suburban school and I lived in the city, and I went to audition for one of their adult productions, The Fantastics. And they wanted to give me the lead. And then they said, so what university do you go to? I said, oh no, I'm 12. I go to 8th grade. They said, oh, we can't give you that role. We're going to have to take you over here to the high school. We want to introduce you to this theater, and we'd like you to come here. And they had a 220 busing program, they called it, in Wisconsin. And that was a way of integration into the suburbs. And so I drove 20 to 25 minutes with my parents every day to get to school, to be a part of this 220 busing program, and to be a part of this theater program in my high school, which made all the difference in the world. And I didn't sit still with it. I did a lead in the production that year, and by my junior year, I had left the school and was only attending 1 day a week and went to another city to perform in a show. I kept crafting new ideas for myself. My senior year, I was only there half a year, and then I was downtown doing professional productions. I went on to different universities, Carnegie Mellon. I had a full ride at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's professional theater training program, and ultimately I graduated from the Boston Conservatory. In the middle of that, I did a national tour. And so I took time off within the 4-year span. I ended up only doing 2.5 years of college, but because I had life credits, because I took 21 credits per semester, 3 semesters in a row, I was able to graduate. I went on, I did internships with a record company, I shot music videos, I lived in California, I lived in New York, I lived in Boston, and I came to Chicago, and I started touring violence prevention programs through the Chicago Public Schools. I did also working on teen projects with my mother, who was a psychotherapist, and we worked with children at risk and women at risk. And then I went on and I did a national tour of Showboat, and then I launched my own company. And with that, I was discovered by PBS, and they chose me in a national search out of 1,500 people to be their first ever live host nationally. And I took that helm, and from there I made an album, and I made a DVD, and I created the social media part of my company, MissLori.tv. And I've been recognized as a blogger of the year, a voice of the year. I now write for Babel.com, which is part of Disney, and I'm the proud mother of 3 giant children. One of whom is here today, videotaping me over there, my son Skylar, who's in high school himself. Now I say all that not because I like to toot my own horn, because it's really not my way. But I wanted to give you that resume, and now I want to give you my other resume. I told you I was adopted. When I was about 5 years old, I was sexually abused by someone in my preschool. It happened again with a parent of a student at my elementary school. It happened again with someone who was in my theater. I kept getting marked. It happened again with a neighbor boy of mine. And I went on, and I was in school, in an all-Catholic school, and I was the only black child in the school. I was the only one with a tan, other than my sister, and they used to make circles around me and beat me up. My 7th grade year, they did a little Monte Teo hoax. Spent the whole summer convincing me that they were somebody I thought I knew. And I had this intimate phone relationship, just feeling good, feeling like I had a really good friend, and found out it was just a hoax by kids who were at my school. I went on to high school, still had some bullying, still had some issues because nobody could figure out what I was. The black kids would push me down the stairs and say I wasn't black enough. The white kids would turn their nose up at me and wanted nothing to do with me, not Amy. And all I did was theater. I did theater and more theater. And I kept trying. And then I went to graduate high school, and 2 weeks before I graduated high school, my brother died. And I didn't have any idea, I don't have any memory of that high school experience because all I could think about was he was 27, he died in his sleep. What the hell is that? I went on to college, and I was dating a guy, and he was using drugs, and you can imagine how that went down. I never used them, but I always seemed to be around them in my theater, and it became a very, very emotionally abusive relationship. I left that, I went on tour. My tour, the tour manager was an alcoholic, my seatmate was a kleptomaniac. I was 18 years old, looking around going, who are you people? I left that. I went on to do another show in Madison. Turns out I had to play opposite the young man who had sexually abused me when I was a kid. Because the theater didn't do anything about it. But I got lucky, my friends stood up for me, even though at 18 years old, 5'8", chest out here, I couldn't do anything for myself. They stood up for me. I went on from there, I went to another school, and there, again, I was one of 5 women in a 100 program and the only woman of color. And they didn't like that. And they did all they could to get rid of me. And I left, and then I fought to get my degree. And while I was in my senior year of college, my acting teacher sexually harassed me. I know. I came out of that. And I found my way into Los Angeles, where, if you don't know, you're a bimbo till proven otherwise. But I found my way in doing theater. I met the man who was going to be my husband. And unfortunately, as you can imagine, given my history thus far, I didn't pick very well. And so I never did find who I was. I engaged in a relationship that lasted me 2 decades that was all about mental cruelty, really. But during that time, I was still marching on, still doing my shows. I got onto PBS. And when I was on PBS, after a first very successful season, the next season they brought in a new producer, and as often will happen, they want to have their own little stamp on things. So they straightened my hair, dressed me all in black, and then tried to sabotage my performance, told me I smiled too much, told me that I needed to do things quicker, do things with less energy. They would walk through my sight lines while I was filming. Anything to try to sabotage what I could do so they could justify getting rid of me. I came out of that. I got into another show, and there were more people just wanting to get ahead, wanting to step on, and I kept fighting. And I made it through. I found social media, I had my children, I kept fighting. Now I tell you all that, I don't really flash that resume, as you can imagine, very often, because it's uncomfortable. It makes the people that I tell uncomfortable, because they don't know what to do with that. Because it sounds so horrible. And it is, I won't lie to you. And then they don't quite know how to look at it. But I tell it to you here because you need to understand that when you look at people who you deem as successful, as people who have it together, who've really made their way, you have to recognize that every single one of them has an invisible backpack on their back full of crap. Every single one of them. That we all have to fight. And you all are fighters. You've already proven it. You've already learned that life is not always fair. You've already learned that there are many a pitfall. You've already seen the underbelly of what there is out there. And yet, you're here. You're here. I won't say that you're survivors, because survivors implies that there's an end. It's not over. Life is an ever-changing, ever-evolving process that you have to constantly navigate. You have to find your way. But you understand that because you're here. You have to dream. You have to plan. You have to throw it away, and you have to start again. Because it is not enough for you to know how to stand tall. You have to know what to do when you fall. You have to know. Because you're going to trip. We're all tripping. We're all tripping over ourselves. We're all being tripped. It happens. But there is still so much good out there that you can find and that you can find within yourself. But know this. The greatest foe that you will ever encounter in your life, it's in here. It's in here. Because nobody knows you like you do. Nobody can do sabotage like you can do to yourself. But conversely, the greatest hero you'll ever know, it's in here too. You have to recognize that you need to do as much as you think you can do, as much as you can imagine, and then dig deeper. Dig deeper. You don't do it for anybody out here, and they all love you. I know they love you. I saw tears even before the ceremony started. They love you, but you can't do it for them. You have to do it for you. Because if you don't care about yourself, if you don't respect yourself, if you don't want more for yourself, why the heck should anybody else? It's about you. Each and every one of you. And you've already proven something by being here. You fought to get here. And that is an accomplishment. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to tell you that life is going to be just horrible. But I'm not going to lie to you either. The promise of the American dream that I was raised on, I'm sorry, it's not there. There are no guarantees. There are milestones you must achieve in order for opportunities to be available to you, but there are no guarantees in those milestones. This is one of those milestones. You needed this. You need this to launch you forward to the next thing. This is a milestone. But it's not a promise. It's not a guarantee. It's about what are you going to do with it now? What's next? Do you know? Have you asked yourself? What's next? It's okay if you don't know exactly. What's most important is that you're asking the question. That you're seeking the knowledge. That you want something more. And I assume that you do because you're here. Do you want something more? Do you want something more? How much do you want? How much do you want? How deep are you willing to dig to get it? Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied? No. You should be itching to get out of here, not because you want to go play, not because you got somebody to text, but because you want your life, the life you are going to make for you. And you don't let anyone else else define who you are. You define who you are. You don't look in somebody else's mirror. If they try to put it up in your face, you just push it aside. Because you don't need anybody in your life who isn't there to help you be the best that you can be. You're not there to support just their dreams. It can be a partnership. You can have partners, but make sure they're there for the good. And they're not just there to suck you dry. Because plenty of people will. And they'll smile at you while they're doing it. You know what I'm talking about. This is about you. This is about your fight. This is about what you want. This is about your dreams. Dreams do not have parameters. The imagination, as I say in my concert, imagination is huge. And it doesn't matter what size pocket is in your pants, because you will always have that imagination. It is limitless. It is limitless unless you minimize your opportunity. And you guys are lucky. I know you're not gonna believe this, but you are lucky. You are the social media generation. How many of you are using social media? Come on, tell the truth. That's right, we won't let them know. But it's important. You know why? Because it's the great equalizer. It doesn't matter if you're a big company or an individual entrepreneur. Social media is equal. It's about your sweat equity. I want you, as you go forward, I want you to think of yourself as a brand. I want you to think of your whole self as a brand. Something that you cultivate, something that you market, and something that you fiercely protect. You put a copyright on your brand, because it's yours. And when you go on social media, you recognize that that is your brand you are representing with every tweet that you put out, with every Facebook update that you post, with every Instagram picture. That's your brand. Oh yeah, it makes you laugh, thinking about some of those pictures you put up there. Was that going to sell your brand? To who? Be careful. Know who your customer is. Be careful. But use it. Use it. This is the most inventive time that we have ever seen in the history of the United States. Never before could you have an idea and the next day it is a reality. You don't need textiles, you don't need manufacturing for some of these ideas. You just need your imagination. That should excite you. Because it means that those dreams, all those ideas that you've got circling around in there, those things that you think nobody else is going to pay attention to, those have merit. And you can do something about it. But you got a plan. You've got to listen to today, listen for tomorrow, and be available for inspiration. Be available for opportunity. Be available. Let your mind be available. It doesn't matter if you're in school or not. You are always a student of the world. It's just about how much do you want to learn and how far do you want to go with it. Now I know all of you have their cell phones tucked in your shirt. You're kind of hiding, I know, because they told you to turn them off. But I want you to take them out. Take them out. Go ahead. They're not gonna, you're done. They're not coming after you. Take them out. I want you to take a picture, because you know every single one of those phones has a camera on them. They don't make them without a camera anymore. I want you to take a picture of yourself right now. Do a little selfie right now. Take that picture. You know. Get it high so you have a nice angle. Go ahead, parents too. Take a picture. Take a picture of this moment. Hold on to this moment. And then go back and look at it 4 years from now and know where you started and where you landed. Take that picture. I'm really honored that you allowed me to be a part of this moment for you today. I'm really honored. And though I know I asked all my friends on social media, I said, well, do you remember any of the graduation speeches you heard? They're like, yeah, no. I No. And I understand that. And it's okay if you don't remember me 20 years from now. But I hope you'll remember me tomorrow, and maybe next week. And that something in what I said today, something resonates, some little seed is planted. And from that you will grow. You will flower. The one thing I want to leave with you, one thing I want you to remember, is that you don't have to have your eyes open all the time. Sometimes it gets scary. We just want to close our eyes. I want to see it. But that's okay. Close your eyes, but keep moving. You don't have to see the light to reach it. Close your eyes and keep moving. And no matter what, smile anyway. Thank you.